You are listening to PT on Ice, the Older Adult, a collaboration between the Senior Rehab Project and the Institute of Clinical Excellence. This is a rebroadcast of an original episode that can be found at ptonice.com. Let's get this ball rolling, 8:32. So today's PT on Ice for the Older Adult Division is going to be about paying homage, standing on the shoulders of giants. So my name is Dustin Jones. I am one of two faculty members for the Older Adult Division. Christina Prevett is the other one. We're teaching the course Modern Management of the Older Adult. So we've been getting on every Wednesday, just kind of talking about things that we're passionate about and trying and give you all a glimpse of what the course is going to be about. Ryan Smith, good morning, sir. So standing on the shoulders of giants. This is not what I was planning on talking about, but after Jeff Moore's episode yesterday on focusing on the second sale, and then a lovely lunch that I had, I just had to feel like I had to talk about this. So I don't know if you all hadn't listened to Jeff's episode on Tuesday the 10th, focusing on that second sale, listen to it. But one of the big points that really spoke to me was that your success in the first sale or the traction of your product or service may be more indicative of the skill of your marketing than the actual quality of your product or service. He's just referencing this day and age where, we're all connected, we're all on the internet, and, I can put up this amazing facade to where I have pretty pictures and nice logos and this cool video and really get you into whatever product or service. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it is of high quality. And that had me thinking just of a pattern that I've, noticed on the internet, and just something that I've, experienced personally, is that sometimes the loudest people online, or I guess the most popular PT personalities, are more recognized and sometimes respected in our spheres than some of the living legends that may not be on social media. So, some of these people that have just been servants of this profession for decades, we don't even know them just because they don't have a Twitter account or aren't doing Facebook Lives all the time. And I feel like that is an absolute travesty. And I'm someone that I'm acknowledging and confessing that I'm one of those people, that I am not aware of a lot of the people that have kind of paved the way for us. So I want to just kind of dive into that topic and just express why I feel like it is an issue and we need to think differently about that, and also tell you an embarrassing story. So I do a podcast, the Senior Rehab Podcast, and it's all about older adults. And so, I was mainly in the sports world, started doing this podcast. So I didn't know a lot of people, that have written the books of geriatrics or, been presidents of so-and-so association. I just wasn't aware, and I just talked to people. So I had an interview recommendation from a previous guest. Said, hey, you need to interview Dale Avers. And I was like, cool, never heard of her. Yeah, let's talk. And with interviews, I typically don't prepare a lot. I know it may sound unprofessional, but I like to go in just curious, just wanting to learn about that person, to it not be super scripted, just to kind of wing it, just like you're talking to a friend at a bar or a coffee shop. And so right before we were starting, I was, get everything together. I pulled up her bio on the computer here and saw all these letters behind her name, and one designation was FAPTA. And so, I'm trying to get my ducks in a row before I hit record. And I said, Dale, what's FAPTA? And I know some of you listening or watching this may, you may not know what FAPTA is, but those that do are probably like, oh, Dustin, you idiot. Why would you ask her that? Well, FAPTA is a fellow of the American Physical Therapy Association. Shveta Aaron, good morning. And so what that is, it's basically the highest membership category. So I'm reading this right now. It serves as an inspiration for all physical therapists to attain professional excellence. And I had no freaking clue what that was, and that Dale Avers had this. And I cannot imagine what it must have been like for her just being who she is in our profession and just the decades of service, to have some, 30-something interview her to not realize or acknowledge her career. But she corrected me in a very gracious manner. And then we got in this conversation, and then I learned that she was the former president of the geriatric section, served at super high levels at multiple states, has taught thousands of people across, the country, but even, globally, about how to better serve older adults. She's been a huge advocate for older adults for decades and wrote the white paper on strength training for older adults. So she has been, she came up with the hashtag Old Not Weak long before there were hashtags. I mean, there were pound signs back then. I mean, so this living legend, and I had no idea about that. I mean, it was terribly embarrassing for me, but beyond that, it's just not a good situation. And I want to go through kind of why I feel that is. So yesterday I was able to have lunch with her, couple hours, amazing time. But after our time together, it quickly dawned on me that we need to acknowledge and familiarize ourselves with people like Dale, with these living legends in our profession that may not have loud voices on social media. They may not have a Twitter account or an Instagram account, but they have written books, they have written articles, they have formed policy, and they have influenced thousands and thousands of people and steered the direction of our profession. So there's a handful of lessons that I learned yesterday, and I wrote them down just to take notes. This is basically like a journal article or a journal entry that I did after I met with her. One thing that was consistent in hearing her story, and just knowing, just some of these living legends of some consistent themes, they're problem solvers. They were confronted with this unique situation in our country, in our healthcare system, and they addressed the problem. They solved the problem. They thought outside of the constraints that they were in, and thought, how can we fix this issue and just go all in? Whatever it took to, whether it's correcting policy or educating people about how to better serve older adults, but they solve problems. And I think of Mike Eisenhart when I hear this. He is a problem solver. He'll take off his PT hat any day just to help people, to serve them and to fix or help with their issues. And so when you think about these people that are confronted with these problems and they solve them, you have to ask yourself, what problems do you face? Whether it is a national or professional issue or something in your community or your clinic or even with that individual patient, what problems are we presented with and how can we address them with our capacity and our capability? I think that's very important to think about. Sorry about that. I'm getting these comments right now. Mark, good morning. So solving problems, think about that. Ask yourself those questions. The second thing is that they screw up. So nobody's perfect, obviously, but some of these living legends have been through these crazy situations, these very heated APTA meetings and these very important gatherings where decisions were made. And some of them, made mistakes. And a lot of them own up to it. But there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from those mistakes that they make, whether it was words that they said or how they handled a certain situation. But man, there's so much that we can glean from those experiences. And I do not think that those lessons should be lost. The third thing is they're resilient. I mean, think about some of these careers of these people that have been slaving away for whatever issue that is that they're passionate about for decades. Like I'm 6 years out of school, and 6 years seems like a long time. When I think about people that have been active in our association, fighting for, advocating for older adults, or whatever the issue is, for over 30 years, I mean, that is mind-blowing to think about. So I think, especially some of us younger clinicians or students, like we need to recognize that, and just that takes a special type of person and a special character trait that would be a good thing to embody. There's nothing quick about their career. It's just long, hard work. Like they just get after it. They put their nose to the grindstone and look what happens on the other end. So I think that's a pretty awesome thing. The fourth thing, and this was awesome. Dale asked me two questions. She said, "What's your impact and what will be your legacy?" Thinking big picture, and I feel many of us listening, we are in school or we get out of school, we see the 6 figures in debt. We think about money, how am I going to pay this loan off? Which is a valid concern, and you do need to think about that and work your tail off to pay that debt off. But we think about the money, we think about our schedules, we think about the documentation. Am I crossing my T's, dotting my I's, making sure I get that timed up and go score, and just kind of rushing through our day and forgetting, why are we doing this? We're working with people in difficult situations. We have a unique skill set to help them, to serve them, to have an impact on them. And so think about how are you impacting the people in front of you, whether it's an individual level, a state level, community, national level, professional level, whatever level that you are trying to influence and make an impact. Think about that. Be intentional about it. Don't just waste your time going through the motions, checking in, checking out, getting a paycheck. Because I can guarantee you at the end of your life, you may regret some things. And that's just coming from hanging out with people in their 80s and 90s. I get to hear that a lot. And then the second thing was legacy. What will be your legacy? And Dale, and I, she said I could share some of these things, but she mentioned the mind shift that comes as you're progressing through your career. It's all about money and getting your skills and, getting that nice house and, just developing all those things. And then you get, kind of, midway towards the end of your career, and you start thinking about, what will people remember about me? What's going to be my unique fingerprint on this profession or this clinic or this city or this patient that I work with? Like, what will be your legacy? And those are some big questions. And I think the earlier that we ask these questions and the more often that we ask them, the better off we're going to be and probably more fulfilled in the work that we do. So all that to say, man, what a day yesterday. Dale Avers, she's awesome. But she's not the only one. She's not the only living legend that is still super active in our associations, teaching, writing books, traveling all over, interacting with clinicians. I'm just going to name a few. Carol Lewis is another one. Andrew Guccione, Marilyn Moffat. Those are some of the big names in kind of the geriatrics world. And I'm leaving tons of people off, but I'm going to let you all do your research. But just know that just because they don't have a Twitter account or an Instagram account or do Facebook Lives every day like we do at the Institute of Clinical Excellence, doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to them, because we are literally standing on the shoulders of giants. Decades and decades of hard work and sacrifice and service so we can do the things that we do on a daily basis. So we need to acknowledge that. So yeah, that's my spiel. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. I do want to mention one thing before we go. Go to ptonice.com. So Jeff Moore kind of revamped the courses page. So there's videos that, real quick, short videos that talk about all the courses. There's a brochure with more details, but it's real clean. And you can get some really good information on all these things. So if you're wondering, what's the modern management of older adult? What's that going to look like? You can go to that, and it's going to have tons of information. And if you have any unanswered questions, you can email or hit us up on Facebook. There's a contact button on the website as well. So ptonice.com. Be sure to check that out. You all have a lovely day, and I'll see y'all in a couple of weeks. Hit me! Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, go to ptonice.com, click on the Courses tab, and check out Modern Management of the Older Adult. This is a course that myself and Christina Prevett are going to be teaching. It's 8 weeks, an online format, interactive, and solely focused on helping students change how they practice and how they work with older adults. For more information, just go to ptonice.com. Thanks.